Sometimes we encounter a quantity expressed as a percent that we would like to just express as a regular number. But let's think for a moment about just what percent means. If we see, for example, 25%, that just means 25 out of 100. So 25% is a fraction. This notation is just shorthand for this fraction. With that in mind, it's super easy to express 25% as a fraction. We just do what it says on the box. Of course, usually we want to do a little bit better than that. Usually we'll want to express 25% as a simplified fraction. But how do we do that? Well, we first write the fraction indicated by the percent. So in the case of 25%, we write the 25 over 100. And then, to write it as a simplified fraction, we simplify. So 25 over 100. Well, I think 25 is a factor of 100. So I have 25 times 1 over 25 times 25, 50, 75, 100. Common factor of 25 cancels, and I'm left with 1/4. So 25% equals 1/4. Let's see a slightly more complicated example, and then I'm going to give you one to try. Let's suppose we'd like to write 13.6% as a fraction, and then simplify. Well, we have 13.6 out of 100. Now, we don't like to have decimals in the numerator and denominator of a fraction. So what should we do? We'll multiply the numerator by 10, denominator by 10. We've got 136 out of 1,000. Okay, now I'd like to simplify this. I want to see, do 136 and 1,000 have any common factors? I think they do. I bet 4 goes into both of these. Right. 4 into 136. 4 goes into 13 3 times. 4 goes into 16 4 times. So this is 34 times 4 over 100 is 25 times 4. So 1,000 is 250 times 4. These still have a 2 in common. 2 goes into 34, goes into 3 once, goes into 14 7 times. How many times does 2 go into 250? Well, 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 5 twice, 2 goes into 10 5 times. So 2 goes into 250 125 times. We're left with 17 125ths. So 13.6% is 17 125ths. I'm going to give you one of these to try. Write 11.5% as a fraction and simplify. Pause the video and try this now. Okay, 11.5%, that's 11.5 over 100. We don't like decimals inside fractions, so I'm going to multiply the numerator and denominator both by 10. 11.5 times 10 is 115. 100 times 10 is 1,000. Now, looking at my numerator and denominator, I have a common factor of 5, I think. 5 goes into 115, goes into 11 twice, goes into 15 3 times. So I'll have 23 times 5 over, well, 10 is 2 times 5, so 1,000 is 200 times 5. Cancel the common 5, and that's the only common factor. So we find 11.5% is 23 out of 200. All right. What if we have a fractional percent? Let's suppose we'd like to write 43 1/3% as a fraction and simplify. Well, we begin the same way. We write 43 1/3 out of 100. And again, now we just need to simplify this fraction. I think that in order to simplify this, though, I'd like to think of it as division. Why? Because mixed numbers are tricky in this context. So let's see. To do this division, I'll need to write this mixed number as an improper fraction, some number of thirds, and I'll want to divide it by 100 wholes. 43 1/3, that'll be 43 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12. So 43 is 129 thirds, plus another 1/3 is 130 thirds. So 130 thirds divided by 100 wholes is 130 thirds times 1/100th. So 130 over 300. I think a common factor of 10 cancels, and that's it. And I'm left with 13 thirtieths. 43 1/3% is 13 thirtieths. Let me give you one of these to try as well. Write 71 3/7% as a fraction and simplify. Pause the video and try this now. Alright, so we start by writing the fraction that it says on the box. 71 3/7 out of 100. Again, to simplify this, we'd like to write it as division. And in order to actually do this division, we're going to need to write this as an improper fraction, some number of sevenths, divided by 100 wholes. How many sevenths is this? Well, 71 times 7. 7 times 1 is 7. 7 times 7 is 49. So 71 wholes is 497 sevenths. Add in the 3 sevenths that we started with, and we get 500 sevenths. Rewrite this as multiplication. 500 sevenths times 1 over 100. That'll be 500 over 700. Cancel one common factor of 10 and another, and I'm just left with 5 sevenths. 71 3/7% is 5 sevenths. All right. Now these fractions that we get by rewriting percents, these are potentially very nice fractions, right? They're potentially decimal fractions. 17% as a decimal. Well, 17% is 17 out of 100. But look, this is just a decimal fraction, right? 2 digits to the right of the decimal point, since I have 2 zeros in the denominator. What if I have something not quite as nice as 17? What if I want to write 11.46% as a decimal? Well, again, what it says on the box is 11.46 over 100. If we think of this as division, well, we're going to have 2 more zeros in the denominator of this decimal fraction. That is, we want 2 more digits to the right of the decimal point. Right now I have 2. I want 2 more. 11.46% should be 0.1146. So we really see a shortcut here, don't we? We may not need to actually write out this fraction step. To express a percent as a decimal, we have this nice shortcut. We move, in quotes, the decimal point 2 places to the left. So 402.6%, well, that'll have the digits 4026. But instead of having 1 digit to the right of the decimal point, it'll have 3. 4.026. Let me give you one of these to try, either using the shortcut or writing out all of the details, whichever you prefer. Write 7% as a decimal. Pause the video and try this now. All right. The long way, we would write 7% is 7 out of 100. That's just, well, 7 100ths, that's the digit 7, but we want 2 digits to the right of the decimal point. So 7 100ths, that's 0.07. If we use the shortcut, well, we'll still have just the digit 7. We want 2 more digits to the right of the decimal point. So again, we get 0.07, of course. Now the last thing that might happen is we might have some fraction or mixed number percent that someone, probably a math teacher, wants us to express as a decimal. Let's suppose we want to write 42.5% as a decimal. We have 2 choices. We could convert our fraction percent to a decimal percent. That is, convert this number to a decimal, and from there convert our decimal percent to a decimal. Or we could convert our fraction percent to a fraction, and then convert that fraction to a decimal. We can choose whichever one we want, but unless we have a really good reason, this way is usually easier. I'm going to use this method for this example. Why is it easier? Because the denominator is smaller in this fraction than it will be in this fraction, most likely. So I'm going to say 42.5. That's going to be 42 point something. Point what? Well, I could say that 1/2, multiply the numerator and denominator by 5. That's 5/10, which is 0.5. Or I could use division to convert. 2 into 1 goes 0 times, of course. Add a 0.0. 2 goes into 10 5 times, with nothing left. And again I get 1/2 is 0.5. Either way, I have 42.5. So 42.5% is 42.5% is 42.5 out of 100. So thinking about this as division, we either think 2 more zeros in the denominator, or we just think move the decimal point. Either way, we'd like 3 digits after the decimal point in our answer, so we'll get 0.425. Let me have you try one of these. Write 1/4% as a decimal. Pause the video and try this now. All right, 1/4%. I'd like to convert 1/4 to a decimal. I think in this case, division is going to be the easy way to go. 4 goes into 1, not at all, of course. So I'll add a 0.0. 4 goes into 10 twice, with 2 left over. Still got something left over, so I have to keep doing division. Bring in another 0 and bring it down. 4 goes into 20, 5 times. With nothing left over. So 1/4 is 0.25. But I'm not done, right? Because this isn't 1/4, it's 1/4%. 1/4 of a percent is 0.25%, is 0.25 out of 100. I want more digits to the right of the decimal point. So let's see. I'll need some more zeros to the left, right? I have 2 now, I'd like 4. I get 0.0025. 1/4% is 0.0025. Whether I think about this as division or as just moving the decimal point.